Hey ManCave, this is Bob for the Bob's N-Scale ManCave, and today this is episode number 3 of how to put in a turntable and roundhouse in N-Scale. And today it's about, I painted in the baseboards and we're going to be putting in some rail and showing you how to measure that out and lay it in place. We are going to be laying out all the pieces to the roundhouse before we assemble it, and some of the things we really need to do at this point is prepare the base if you're going to paint it and decorate it. I painted all of them black, and from there it's going to look, a little bit more consistent, and then I can put some weathering on there if I choose to do so at some point. Draw some other painted lines on the floor, that kind of stuff. At this point, I need to measure the track. So in order to do that, find a piece of flex track that is long enough to go from the edge into the bay. And once you have that piece, you lay the track up against the edges, cut back a tie if you need to, and then that is almost right there along the edge if the tie is leaning up against the turntable. Then from there, cut off anything you have at the end so that it fits inside the grooves in the bay. And then from there, cut out any extra ties that you do not need. And I used a Xeron cutter, track cutter. But what happens is you get something that looks like this, with some ties on one end and no ties on the rails because they'll be fitting right in here. So you just place it in there. You'll have your solid rail, should be right up against the edge of the pit. Slide in your other rail and make sure that they fit inside the grooves all the way down, or as far down as you can make it, and cut off any extra at the end. Once you have one of them made, you pretty much can start cutting duplicates of the same length. Now at this point we're not going to glue them into the bases because you still have to wire in some power. So in order to do the power, got to solder it under the bottom of the rail somewhere, and I haven't quite figured out where I'm going to put that yet. But I may put that right here along the edge next to the roundhouse. So I'm going to pull out another tie and I can solder on the bottom of that rail. To glue in the rail, the instructions suggest using super glue because you're using metal and plastic. Super glue should hold it better than standard glue, even though it's probably technically about the same stuff, but I'm still going to use some super glue and go with that. So ManCavians, this ends this episode of how to put in a roundhouse and turntable. This is episode number 3, where I painted the baseboards black. It was a satin black spray paint from Krylon, I believe, and I'll be painting some other decals and everything else on this later. The next step is going to be putting in electrical wiring and wiring up your track. Now I've got other videos on how to solder feeder wires on the bottom of track rail, so I'm not going to show you that process, but I'll show you where I put it and how I'm going to mount it. So also, electrical is going to include wiring for lighting. I'm going to be putting in some lights in here, and so I'm going to be using the Woodland Scenics Just Plug system. They have some interesting LEDs and everything else that I can use, and some outdoor lighting and so forth. So it should look a lot better in the scene at night when I turn this on, and it'll be a pretty good looking scene. So I'll go through how I'm going to put all that stuff together and where I'm going to wire it in and so forth. Till next time, ManCavians, have a good day and see you later. Bye. So if you like what you saw here today, go ahead and click subscribe down here below, or follow my Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and my Instagram links down here below in the comments. Also, click on one of my other links for videos as well. As always, ManCavians, happy model railroading, stay off the tracks. Bye.